The At Your Insta podcast is brought to you by Comictown. Check them out at www.comictown.net or search for Comictown Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your Instep. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Hi.
And Mike.
Hola.
Clearly, Spain has changed Mike. He's a different man now.
I'm much more mature.
His time in Europe has allowed him to see how we American pig dogs live, and how unfortunate it is.
I do hate this country
Anyway,
now.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Glad we went up in the air and you came back down, and then you spat in God's face again and came back down again, defying the laws that he set forth.
I asked the stewardess to tell me when we were at the highest altitude we'd reach, so that I could then just like point both of my hands to the sky and laugh in triumph.
Look what I've done.
She said, "No, Icarus," and then walked away. I was like, "I don't understand."
That's very good. That's a very smart student she had there to make that
a good reference.
Enlightened reference. Yeah, correct. Very impressive. They're all very smart. We have another fun-filled show for you today. Obviously, we have a ton of community stuff to talk about, as well as a ton of competitive stuff to talk about. So this episode's going to be long, and I don't even want to start.
I wouldn't even call it fun-filled. It's power-packed.
Yeah.
Power-packed show.
It's like a clown car. There's
this
a bunch of things that we have to unpack.
Just imagine all the force it takes to like single pack an Oreo, and then we're like double packing. It's like double stuffed Oreos.
Yeah.
Just think about this.
Right.
This might be the most stuffed community segment we've ever had.
It's true.
May or may not have been a few things that happened.
Yeah, exactly. But first, we want to start with, Mike. And obviously, he had a big thing that happened. He was in the Pro Tour. And we wanted to basically give the head of the show to him and, allow him to recount his experiences over in Spain.
I appreciate that. I just want you to know that segment sounded so much like the Kent Brockman lighter side stuff. We now go to the lighter side. No, I had a really good time. Had never flown before, not domestically. Certainly, obviously, then not transatlantic. So that was step one, and I think I survived it pretty well. I think I can actually confidently say I kind of enjoyed flying, which I was fairly certain I would not. I was afraid to sit by the window, so I got to tell you, there's another podcast I listen to a lot called Lore.
I watched that episode. I listened to that episode when you were leaving. I'm like, oh no, he listened to this.
So Lore goes through and picks a mythological creature or story and gives you all the information about it. And Tuesday, and I flew on Wednesday. Tuesday, I listened to the most recent episode, and it was about goblins, right? Cool, which is very magic appropriate.
Goblins and gremlins.
And gremlins is the second part. I don't know if you know what gremlins are, or if you've never seen one of the old Looney Tunes episodes or the Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah.
Gremlins historically are little creatures that destroy airplanes while they're flying. And then in the Twilight Zone movie, and it's also in the TV show, you had John Lithgow and you also had William Shatner playing these roles, is a man who can see a gremlin on the wing of an airplane and loses his mind.
Something on the plane.
So. Definitely so I sat down. My first flight was right on the wing, so I sent a picture to my brother of John Lithgow sweating and staring out the window. So it was pretty funny, but no, I enjoyed that. Got to Spain. I do think managed to successfully beat the jet lag, which is cool. I'm a little tired today, but I'm working through it, so I'm doing all right.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah, have you been back even 24 hours yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just about.
So I managed to make sure because so I time traveled yesterday because I left Spain at 10:30 and made it to New York at noon. So that was really weird.
It was a really fast flight.
But I managed to not go to sleep at all. Don't go to sleep when I got home. So I slept pretty well. I did wake up at 4:30 this morning and just could not go back to sleep. So my body was still no, it's noon, man. You gotta get up. I'm like, no, I promise it's not.
I promise it's not. I swear.
But no, it was really fun. I got to eat some really awesome food. Tried a couple things. Also tried some American versions of things there. Had some McDonald's. All I gotta say is McDonald's, step your game up. You can get wedges as a side in Spain. Wedges. know much better wedges are than their fries. Oh my god.
Instead, they're trying what's like the double Big Mac thing or whatever that they're trying
yeah.
out. Did you see that?
They had chicken Big Macs there too.
Ooh,
Yeah, that sounds kind of nice, right?
kind of.
Kind of. But so obviously it's some authentic food there as well, and it was really good. I will say that we tried pizza one night. I wanted to see what Spanish pizza would be like, and I ordered sausage pizza, as a specific menguez. Sorry if I'm butchering that word. Sausage, and I was really excited about it. And I opened the pizza. There were just like sausage links, one full encased sausage link on each piece of pizza. I almost dropped the pizza. I was laughing so hard. I was just dying. It was delicious though. You just like wrapped the pizza around it, and you had like a pizza sausage sandwich. Which
Yeah.
that doesn't sound very Spanish to me. It sounds very American.
Yeah,
But
yeah, fact. That's awesome.
so-
I definitely looked at some of the pictures of some of the things that you did partake in. And I'm a picky eater, and I'm like, I don't know if I could actually go out in the country. So I was like, I don't. That
the tacos that I posted. Oh my god, we had this chicken taco like smothered in cheese, like, and then the house made pineapple salsa that went with it. Oh man, oh my god, That's so
I'd
good.
have to get more adventurous, obviously, and try new things. Being in a completely different country, so I think I would get used to it.
Yeah, going back to the pizza thing, like when you posted that picture, I was just like, that looks really funny, but I guarantee you it's delicious.
Oh no, it was great. It was actually just wonderful.
Well, that's good.
But I guess we can talk with the actual Pro Tour a little bit too. So
Yeah. So, like, what we'll obviously get into the nitty gritty and the competitive about like what the outcome was of the Pro Tour, but how was your experience with it personally?
I had a lot of fun. We went down Thursday for registration, and it was really cool because like you felt very like. I want to say like taken care of. I don't want to feel like went in there and they like, but like it was just like, hey, congrats on making it here. Here's this stuff. Got a T-shirt, got a really awesome bag, got some cool swag to go with it. Like that was really fun. And then like, I think the nicest thing was how the tournament just starts. Like there were no like actual announcements for the judges. It was like you sit down in your pods, you give them your standard deck list, and you start drafting. And that was really awesome. My first pod, I would say, was of average difficulty. I had like Ben Friedman and Stephen Mann in my pod, as well as like Andrew Funkhauser, of the SCG tour.
We love his name.
So like, but it wasn't like decked out or anything, and it was. But I love a good call draft, and I think I read the table well, and I managed 2-1 the draft, and that was where all the good times ended.
Oh,
Standard was a rough battery for me. And I ended up falling to 3 and 5 to not day 2, which was upsetting, like personally upsetting. But I loved the tournament. I talking to these guys, and Dave, obviously who'd been here before, was talking about how like I've never been like 2 and blank or 3 and blank in the tournament and like face such ridiculous competition. You know what I mean? Like that's when you're dropping. That's when you're like, all right, I'm 2 and 3, whatever. I'm gonna. But like no, you're just like facing great.
Yeah, you still gotta find a way to bounce back and try to regain the composure.
right. Try to rally.
Yeah, it's like one of the only tournaments where you could have 3 or 4 losses and still be playing for something, and like you still have to find a way to like refocus and like, okay, I can still maybe do something here. But it's hard.
It's and I would definitely say like going back and looking at it, I'm a person who tries really hard to like focus on where I could have played better. And there's definitely 2 games, specifically a game 3 in my first standard match, where I definitely felt like I could have made one decision different to change the tide of the game. But like even like round 8, or like me and my opponent are both 3 and 4. Only the winner day 2s. Like we ended up in this ridiculous top deck war at the end of the game when he hit double Avacyn over across about 4 turns. But it was like just like slamming what you hit off the top. It was just like end of a Rocky film, just like one of us just cutting the eye open.
Nobody's blocking.
And that was just, and then the guy I played against, it was his first PT as well. But like at the end of the day, like and I will say shout out to the person I went with, Randall Ruggles, a Columbus local. He managed to get in there at 4 and 4 and finish up with I think a 7 and 9 record. And then Leon Wallerstein, who was one of the people who top aided Grand Prix Mexico City to get there, completed an impressive 5 and 1 record in draft. And finished, I think, 8 and 8, so just shy of cashing, unfortunately. And he had not had a lot of experience with our standard deck, and he was very frustrated. But he got to play against like LSV early on in the tournament against the right deck, and sort of and had a chance to win that game. The game 3, he felt like he sort of punted the third game there, so it was. I don't know. It was really, really interesting to see, like, to feel like you were there as well. Another person that we tested with, Andrew Didas, He also, unfortunately, like me, fell to 3-5, and we spent pretty much all day Saturday just sort of hanging out on the couches and watching coverage, which was actually unreal.
We saw you in the coverage.
Yeah, I know.
They panned over to the crowd a little bit, and we spotted you.
Yeah.
So you talked about a little bit about your standard deck. Do you want to talk about what you played? Because you didn't really say last week.
Yeah, a couple people asked about it, and I definitely will post the list on Facebook and on Twitter. I tried really hard to like craft a narrative on Twitter, so and I felt like a couple people really appreciated that. I was just trying to take pictures throughout the day. I also got a really awesome profile picture of me and the rest of the Gatewatch, just hanging out.
Yep. Being
Yeah,
all planeswalkery and stuff.
Just doing your thing.
But we played Blue-White Eldrazi, a deck which I had definitely tested extensively for like the last 2.5-ish weeks. I had a ton of games under my belt with it, based around Reflector Mage, Eldrazi Displacer, Warlord Rogue, and then the normal hits of Thought-Knot Seer and a Reality Smasher. We tested a bunch against Man Company and felt we had a good matchup against that deck. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to bear out at the Pro Tour itself, which, obviously there are different variations of that deck. Additionally, a number of the decks at the Pro Tour switched away from what the Invitational meta was, which we expected, but switched far to the other side, where like the control decks had tons of Grasp of Darkness and other things. So Thought-Knot Seer felt like it was really, really well placed against the Humans decks. And the Low to the Ground decks were a 4/4 where you could snag their last threat and solidify the board was really good. And all of a sudden that card became a liability in a couple matches. Across the board, though, like we had a number of even those who day two'd with it, we went back and forth with playing the 26th land, and we had some mulligan issues. And the deck is best when it curves out, so it may have just been right to play the 26th land. We've gone back and forth on it. The deck played out much like Red Black Dragons did at the end of the last format, where like that deck played a ton of lands and not a lot of card advantage, and when it just curved out, it just punched people in the face. And sometimes it's clunkier draws. This had more play to it, especially with Eldrazi Displacer. But there was also just more removal for Displacer in this tournament than there has been in the first few weeks of Standard. So definitely I told Dave the first thing I felt after I was frustrated I didn't make day two. I was frustrated how I played. I was frustrated how the deck worked. And then the next thought was, well, time to get back. And that was almost an immediate like there's a PPTQ on Sunday, and I will be there, and I will be trying to get back, because now I just want to get back. I've been there, now I want to do better, and I do feel like the next time I want to go about testing a little bit differently and with more people, just to have a chance to find some other decks, or at least to have more people to bounce ideas off of that isn't purely theory crafting. We like to do that. Dave and I both like to sort of, especially when there's not, Dave, doesn't have much time to test.
Yeah.
Some of it has to be done in your head. But it would be nice to have someone who, you take this deck and do this, you take this deck and do this, instead of one or two people really trying to condense all of it. So
it seemed like also, you said you all kind of played the same list. Was all the same deck essentially? I don't know.
It was the same list with I think one or two card exceptions and boards for one or two people. So I want you to understand that there were only 4 copies of Blue-White Eldrazi there. If you look at the metagame breakdown, we carved out 1% of the metagame. We did it.
Congratulations.
Do you feel like maybe you suffered because you didn't have a different perspective? You didn't have somebody else coming in and saying well, hey, I've been working on this deck, and then kind of going back and forth with that. It was basically just Blue-White Eldrazi, and you were on that, or
I was on it because the numbers were good, and even in our local tournament testing, obviously local tournament's not a Pro Tour, but we put up also pretty good numbers, top 4 to PPTQ, put 2 people in the top 8 of a Comic Con Classic event. Not the largest amount. Obviously, Morgan played the deck and didn't do great in the Invitational and Standard, but Randall played the deck in the Invitational at 3-1 in Standard and didn't get through Modern. So in the Invitational is a bit more difficult tournament. We felt like the deck could get there. So it could just be matchups. There's when you're talking about my sample size, I played 5 matches of Standard. I played against 2 humans, 1 Bant Company, 1 Esper Dragons. It was Blue Black X Dragons. And 1 red-white. It wasn't Eldrazi, but it was playing Nahiri and those sorts of things. It felt very mirror-y, actually, and Nahiri was the card in game 2 and 3 that actually just separated us, just had a card advantage engine.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just one of those things where it could also just be a smaller sample size. I would still feel comfortable taking this deck to, I would even say an open. I feel like I could pilot it and do okay. But at the Pro Tour, we just may not have been the right call based on how the meta shook out. We made some good calls. We knew that Band Company's a deck we didn't want to try and play because we didn't have the best list for it. We knew that whatever list came out of the Invitational was no longer the best list. and we certainly did have the time to try and find it. The best list was probably found by Team MTG Mint Card, which obviously put Andrea Mengucci into the finals. But pretty much everyone else playing that deck did miserable with it. It was the high, 23% of the overall metagame. We'll get into that stuff. But it didn't convert very well. So we made good decisions on that, knowing that wasn't the deck we wanted to look at. But we just didn't find enough of the other decks we probably could have. So
Awesome.
I think there ended up being a lot of unexpected and new decks, which we'll get into later. But
if I had to identify one major failing for myself for testing for this Pro Tour, beyond just like failing in general, is that in all my testing, I played the rights deck a number of times. Obviously not the one that LSV ended up, and Channel Fireball ended up on, but very close. The card I missed in all of the decks that I was building on was Duskwatch Recruiter, and that's frustrating. But I also think that goes back to a lot of it was just me. And it would have been really nice if I had more people who were looking for cards, who had time to look at this and be like, "Hey, this is the one." And you could say, "Oh, we saw it at the open." Yeah, we did, but by then I have a lot of time invested in a deck. So at some point, you have to weigh the cost back and forth of piloting something you know very well. So.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because they did a deck tech with that, and I believe it was Matt Nass was the one that was going through the cards, and he said when they were going through the iterations of the deck, it wasn't that great, and they're like, "What if we had Duskwatch Recruiter?" And then that just made it awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with that, and obviously they found that as well and did pretty well with it. So, but I mean, there's no shame in not day twoing your first one. I don't think. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, I think it's hard to have expectations in your first Pro Tour. If you haven't been on that level, it's hard to really know what to expect. But it's you take the experience and. You'll know better for next time.
Yeah, I definitely, I felt disheartened, but I didn't go in feeling like when I go into an open, I expect to cash. That is how I feel about those events. I didn't expect that at this. I wanted to, obviously, but my expectation I think was maybe a little bit lower than that. So to not day two is frustrating, but at the same time I wasn't expecting to just rock the house, I guess is the the answer I want to say.
Yeah.
You keep your hopes high, but your expectations tempered.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm sorry it didn't go better for you, but hopefully there's a next time.
That is the hope.
All right. Enough of that. Let's move into the multitude of community topics that we have, and I will cover Mike as he opens Mountain Dew, very stealthily.
Sneaky.
You're supposed to sneak in a quick cough right there. All right.
Anyway, so community stuff. Tons and tons of stuff has happened from when we casted last to now, which is pretty much a week. Yeah, it's been a week.
Yeah,
plus a day.
Yeah. Where do we begin?
Well, we'll start with the lawsuit that has been put forth against Wizards of the Coast by some Magic judges. And basically, to kind of give a cursory glance over this lawsuit, they're basically saying that the judges are employees of WotC, if I'm not mistaken, and they're seeking compensation for what they've done. Whatever they had received from the tournament organizers for these events was not, fit compensation, basically, and they are seeking this. Now, we are not legal experts on this podcast, so we don't really have any opinions about this. There are a few articles that you can research. I kind of go more in depth into this, and I do encourage you to pursue those if it is something that does intrigue you. But we don't really have any opinions about this. We just kind of wanted to let you know this is the thing that's happening. And Hillian Bergeau has even released a statement about it as well, so you can definitely read her statement about it. But all in all, this is sort of the minor thing that is happening.
Yeah, this happened last week.
Yeah, comparatively speaking.
It may be feeding other things.
Yeah, correct. And we mainly talk about this, so we could talk about that, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
So moving on, during the Pro Tour, what was this? Was it the top 8 basically where they made these announcements?
I think during the semifinals.
Yeah. So
yes.
They announced, as they usually do, something big for the Pro Tour. These were some Premier Play updates. So we'll start with, some of the lighter ones, if you will. So the 2017 Pro Tour and World Magic Cup locations were revealed. February 3rd through 5th, it's Pro Tour number 1. It's going to be Dublin, Ireland. You going to go back, Dave? No.
For those that don't know, I have a baby on the way.
Did you order it from Costco or
Is it
It's going to take a while to
coming
get
in the
here.
mail? Or...
But
parcel post, like 9 months shipping?
yeah. So the baby will be like 3 months old when that Pro Tour happens. So I'm going to say probably not going back.
All right,
Maybe
fair
the
enough.
next time it goes to Dublin.
Fair enough. Figured I'd ask. You've already been there once, so why not?
Yeah. I'd like to run it back, but probably not going to happen just yet.
Okay. Then we have May 12th through the 14th is Pro Tour number 2. It's going to be Nashville, Tennessee. And then July 28th through the 30th, we have Pro Tour 3, which is going to be in Kyoto, Japan.
Probably not running that one back.
Not running that one back either?
That's another one. Yeah, that was my first Pro Tour was in Kyoto. Now I think that was the last time they were in
These are
Kyoto.
like the Dave, you've been here before Pro Tours.
Is the next one Amsterdam?
No.
No. It's,
Sorry.
It's an A.
It is Albuquerque,
Oh, not really the
New
same
Mexico.
thing.
No.
But I hear they do make drugs down there. But
I watched I watched a TV show that told me that.
Yeah, I saw that on a TV show. once.
It must be true then.
I just can't wait for all the people who get like lost on the way down there when they like tell like I can't make it to the Pro Tour and they're like why? It's like made a wrong turn at Albuquerque. And I was like, hey, LSV's gonna make that joke at some point. And
Hey, you know how that goes, am I right? Nudge, nudge.
And then we have the World Magic Cup, and that's going to be in Nice, France.
Nice.
We always make that joke. I'm glad they keep going back to Nice though, so that joke's always funny.
Yeah, it's very
nice. Yes.
I was gonna say beautiful there.
Oh, okay.
I think you made that joke too last time.
You showed me.
Oh no.
We should just do a replay of what we said about Nice last time.
Yeah.
Like just paste it over.
I have 2 wonderful nieces actually. Now that I think about it.
Anyway, you don't have any nieces, I don't think.
No, they're
Today's
that's not
actually
true.
my niece's birthday.
Does that help?
Yeah.
My knees are kind of hurting a little bit today.
It's because those airplane seats are a little too small.
A little too small. I'm a big guy.
You guys are the worst. Okay, but the actual important thing from these Pro Tour announcements is that they're all standard and draft, of course.
And draft.
No more modern Pro Tour, and obviously, this time, first of all, it's a little bit easier to comprehend why this is the case. All right, we understand we have a 2-block dynamic now. It makes more sense to have all standard Pro Tours. If you would have just told us the first time, maybe we wouldn't have got up in arms about it. Secondarily, they also announced something after this, which completely overshadowed that anyway. So who cares?
Yeah, people might not even know that there are no more modern Pro Tours. But
Yeah, correct. So no more modern Pro Tour. Modern's still going to be supported through GPs, PPTQs as well. The Open Series, of course, will still support modern.
I think so that statement that Aaron Forsyth released a write-up
Yes.
afterwards, I think you can really read between the lines there. And if you're a modern player, be really happy about it. They're not planning on cutting back any sort of modern play at all outside of the Pro Tour. But now they said that they will no longer feel the pressure to make a big shakeup, because they said the Pro Tour should be about finding new things in a format. But modern is not a format that does that. They said it's modern that repetition of the right deck is better than innovation. So for them, they won't feel the pressure to have to make a ban
or an unban.
right before. They can let the format sort of function more smoothly, and it also decreases the chance of your favorite deck getting banned.
Yeah, getting the axe.
And I think it's the big thing to take away from it. If you were a person who's shied away from modern, or you're gun shy now because your twin deck was banned or whatever, this is where you can start to go, okay, the format's going to settle. I think if they make any more changes that you'll see over the next few years, it'll be much more likely to be unbans than bans. And I think that'll be nice for the format.
Right.
Yeah, I think another thing that he mentioned in the article too was they want to try to keep the ban list as small as possible.
Right.
So yeah, you may see more unbans than what we are used to seeing.
Yeah.
I guess out of this.
And modern is still going to be in some high level premier tournaments. I mean, even the World Magic Cup we see is going to have a Team Unified Modern Team Unified Modern portion of it. So it's important to know that you will still be able to watch interesting games of Modern. Maybe not at the Pro Tour, but maybe at the World Magic Cup.
And I think, I mean,
and GPs, of course.
Yeah, I mean, so for fans of Modern, I mean, it stinks that you're not going to be able to see it, see the pros play, but a lot of pros don't really want to play Modern either. It's kind of like, it's almost like, oh, I guess we have to play Modern once a year, and nobody's really happy about it. But I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast before, and I think it's a good change. And
yes.
I mean, seeing how great this Pro Tour ended up. With as far as the innovation, the decks, and everything, I think it's the right way to go
for sure.
So now we get into the heavier topics,
the elephant in the room,
and it'll be weird to talk about this and then talk about like what happened today. I guess we could just talk about it within the context of what was announced, because I think that probably makes more sense. So basically. Wizards has decided to minimize the appearance fees that they are providing for both Hall of Fame appearances as well as platinum pros. So first we'll discuss the Hall of Fame changes, and I believe that these are not being affected by what was announced today. Correct?
Right.
So this is going to happen when it happens. So Hall of Famers will receive their appearance fee of $1,500 for competing in the Pro Tour that features the Hall of Fame induction, and only that Pro Tour. So very important. So instead of getting it every Pro Tour. All right. Makes sense.
So they're going from getting $6,000 a year if they go to all the Pro Tours to $1,500.
And if we're going to section these out, I guess I'll stop here and say that a number of pros wrote about both of these things, but pretty much the pros, especially the ones who are Hall of Famers, all agreed with this change. This one made sense because the pros who are Hall of Famers who are still like grinding the circuit hard are still making enough money on the circuit, then they're doing okay. Finkel, I mean, whatever, he makes like shadow.
I think he just gives all his money away.
Yeah.
I think winnings,
he
he's just
puts
like
it into his gamers helping gamers scholarship. But like LSV still making bank here, and and Kibler said it would probably cause him to stop coming to some amount of PTs. But at the same time, that's not really bad because he's not dedicating himself to the game anymore.
Yeah.
And what you had is that anytime a PT got close to a certain amount of Hall of Famers, they would just sort of show up, collect the money, but not really testing the format at all. And you could see players like Darwin Castle appeared at one a couple years ago, and not to point certain pros out specifically, but that's a guy who doesn't show up very often, who has a job outside of that, but it was close enough to him. It's like, hey, I'm just going to take this $1,500. Does he have an impact on on viewing anymore? You know what I mean?
Right.
You could even say that about Kai to some extent, who's come to ones that have been close to him, but he's not really embracing the game the way anymore either. So,
right.
Maybe this gets it makes some sense here. This is a way for them to save a fair amount of money.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, it makes sense because, I mean, the Hall of Fame is only going to continue to grow as we go along, and from if you look at the first couple of years, how much money were they paying out to the Hall of Famers that were showing up to now, and I think even in the people that are getting inducted now are still active players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like people that got inducted from 1993 when they were on their Pro Tour. That's not when the Hall of Fame started. I'm saying when they played back then.
I watched Enter the Battlefield today, and it told me that the Pro Tour didn't start until 1996.
Okay, sure.
So
you got me. You got me.
Pretty sure the game didn't exist in 93, but whatever.
That's when it came out.
Yeah.
94 is the first year for cards. 93 is testing phase.
No, 93 is when beta came out. And alpha. Whatever.
It's 93. Sure.
But you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the early Hall of Famers, I should say, really aren't active anymore. So that's not really a big deal, as far as paying out the appearance fees. But the
1993 is what Wikipedia says, but it's Wikipedia, so I don't know about
Oh yeah, yeah, it's definitely edited.
Anyway, yeah, you get my point.
Sure.
So what else happened, Morgan?
So I guess we'll talk about these changes as they were announced, but I will forewarn that this has changed since it was announced. But you need to get the good, correct amount of indignation to really get this started. So we will read it out as it was announced. So it says, effective at the after the conclusion of Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, Platinum Pros will receive an appearance fee of $250, and this is down from $3,000. Is what the current appearance fee is, and an appearance fee of $250 for competing at the World Magic Cup, and this was previously $1,000. And then also appearance fee $250 for appearing at a World Magic Cup qualifier, and this used to be $500. So that was kind of the kick in the teeth that Wizards sort of delivered to a lot of pros during the Pro Tour.
And during the semifinals, of the
This is
Pro
like
Tour,
like right before the finals.
like it was really weird. Like during one of what is already being considered one of the best top 8s of all time, which is one of the better formats for Standard in a long time.
One of the better draft formats, and
Just,
all.
like all positivity, and like what, we can't have this. Let's just like rain on everyone's parade.
Yeah, this was
Now, Mike, you were there. Was there anything like readable from the people that you saw, or was there like a change in feeling in the room?
I know that a number of pros got up and left.
Wow.
Like actually left the hall, did not return. That was interesting. Beyond that, I don't know too much.
Okay.
Obviously, the sound in the room was silence, like kind of weird. So it was weird overall. I do think that some of them didn't hear it immediately, because we were off to the side because we were drafting. So a number of them were over there drafting and didn't hear it immediately.
Oh.
Like you couldn't hear it all the way. So it was just like they didn't know, and then they found out. But I think what's really awkward is that I don't know. Even the people who are commentating for it came out against it, so they didn't know beforehand. Like pretty much everyone who wasn't upper management at Wizards is not happy about this. Wizards employee, it was just really weird. It made for a weird, and I felt bad for Steve Rubin because it really did overshadow his win.
I think it overshadowed everything.
Well, that's true.
I think we'll get more into
You overshadowed shadows.
there were too many shadows.
Too many shadows.
Up to that point, this was one of the best Pro Tours that I can remember, and we certainly talked about one of the best top 8s of all time. Probably one of the best handful of top 8s of all time, as far as star power, and you saw 8 different decks, and there was a lot of innovation. A lot of teams came up with some really cool decks, and this kind of just took the wind out of everything.
Yeah.
Now I was playing in SCG Modern States on Sunday when it was announced, so I wasn't watching it immediately when it was announced, but I could tell from Twitter and people starting to comment on it. I was like, wait, what happened? And news kind of quickly spread throughout. I got talking to people that were at the tournament, and I almost didn't believe it when I heard the number. Going from $3,000 appearance fee to $250. Now, the real awkward thing about this is probably the most egregious thing is that this was scheduled to go into effect after the next Pro Tour. So the people that were grinding platinum this year already, or that were trying to hit platinum, now just kind of have the rug pulled out from under them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, all that work that you put in to try to get the platinum, you're not going to get $3,000, and it's $250 now, that's not just a little bit of a that's 90% reduction.
Tweet?
Yeah, anybody going out?
No. It was made $10,000 today, then lost $11,000.
Yeah, it was kind of in line with some of the things that Wizards has done in the past, were just the really poor timing or really poor delivery of the news. It felt very tone deaf as far as
I think they assumed the goodwill of the Pro Tour. I think they assume this all the time. The goodwill of the Pro Tour will supersede the negativity here, and it's just wrong. It felt weird for me sitting there watching the finals when they cut to commercials showing people who like holding the trophies and telling you like if you want to be like these people, go to your local PPTQ and your RPTQ, and I'm like you're literally like at this point it no longer feels like a cohesive effort. It feels like exploitation. We're watching exploitation happen
Yeah.
because you're done paying them. Like, hey, we're gonna plaster your image all over everything because you signed it away for $250. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was really weird.
And they're really. I mean, I guess we could talk about what they're going to do with all the money that they're saving from cutting the Hall of Fame appearance fees and cutting the Platinum appearance fees, which we haven't gotten to that yet.
We haven't transitioned to that, yeah.
But the really awkward thing about it is, so maybe for like some of the American Platinum pros, a lot of the bigger tournaments, they typically are having like 2 pro tours in America now per year. But if you look at people from maybe like some of the Brazilian pros or like some of the people from the Asia Pacific area, that plane tickets are going to be a lot more expensive for them to try to travel or like, even try to grind for platinum. Like being able to attend enough GPs to have enough finishes. It almost makes it impossible for those guys to, if they want to try to grind platinum and try to live that lifestyle, it's basically impossible to live off that. So it's just, I don't know. It was pretty bad.
It was, I don't know. The decision, and you had a lot of conversations about this, and there was a lot of people saying like, oh, the reaction to this is overblown, but like, I don't think that it is. Like, if you pay close attention to the language that was being used, like, this $3,000 is supposed to help like offset like allow pro players to live essentially, and they're like, we feel it's not doing this, so we're cutting it.
Yeah, it feels like that's the opposite of what they should be
Yeah,
doing.
that doesn't make any sense. Well, if it wasn't working, why don't you fix it? Well, we did fix it.
By cutting it.
It's like the scene in Office Space where it's like, well, Milton was still getting paid, so we just fixed the glitch. You're like, so you fired him?
Yeah.
No, we fixed the glitch.
We fixed the glitch. It's and like, so if you're like surprised that they get like why should I care about these platinum pros? Well, because there's really not that many of them, but they are the face of the game.
Yeah.
And like, if Blizzard's gonna or Blizzard, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. If WotC's going to say they want to compete with like a Blizzard and become an esport, you have to have those figureheads. You have to have those, like, that was one of the few things they did a good job of recently, is building up the teams, building up the storylines, and then you gut them. And it doesn't make any sense. And those are the people that, us, the people who grind all the circuits, right? I mean, are supposed to aspire to be. Now, I know if you don't play those formats or you don't like the competitive aspect of the game, that's fine. But recognize that it does damage the game overall if Wizards just decides they don't feel they need to pay these people anymore, because they are being taken advantage of then. And it's just the truth.
Yeah, and when I started playing Magic in 98, 99.
1991.
Yeah, before the game actually started.
When I was playtesting Magic with Richard Garfield.
No, but like when I started playing, that was when John Finkel and Kai were like kind of at the height of their careers, and I pretty much started playing competitively almost immediately, and those are the players that like I looked up to. I was like, wow, like these guys are awesome. Like that's like I want to be like maybe not as good as them, but it's like how do I improve? How do I get to that level?
Maybe not as good as them. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, maybe with enough practice, I could not be close. But but you know what I mean. Like it's almost like looking up to your hero. It's like the same thing like in sports. Like sports has the superstars.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it just I don't know. It just didn't make any sense, and it kind of seems like Wizards is getting away from promoting the players, and in the Pro Tour is more about promoting the new set, which is fine. I mean, if that's the way they want to go with it, that's perfectly fine. But I always enjoyed like knowing the players more. You know what I mean? And SCG's done a good job with that, of really promoting the players. They have like the player profiles and kind of facts that you might not have known. You kind of get to know them a little bit more. So like, yeah, I think
there's a way they could have gone about this that would have made the transition a lot smoother. And let's be honest, maybe they don't want to be the ones that pay for that anymore. If they want to go to the esports model does heavily rely on
outside sponsors.
Outside sponsors. but they have to work on that together. Then tell the teams like, hey, this is where you're going to need to go. This is where the funding's going to be. This is going to start at this time. And they try to get away from that. They try so hard to have to skip this very important step, and then all they do is sever all of their ties with the community. And if you can look here, you did a good job here, Dave, posting some of this stuff. Like obviously, we had a ton of pro reaction tweets and responses, a number of quality write ups. One from John Finkel, one from Brian Kibler, one from
Matt Sperling.
Which him being a lawyer was really good. I really liked. At first, I thought he was being like sarcastic when he was writing this because he kept saying "Wizards of the Coast." Or a Hasbro property or whatever.
Yeah.
But like it was kind of funny actually. But then you had like things like Vintage Super League postponed, Gabby Sparks, Newmont suspended streaming, which is credit to both of them, but credit to Gabby Sparks. She just took a position with Wizards, and she's still like, you know what? No, I'm going to pause this. So good on her. And quick aside, she did a great job this weekend too. So. Yeah. I think she was the only person who was commentating who also had to be a spotter half the time. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like they actually had her as a spotter and then pulled in the booth. I'm like, where's Randy's not back there? Like, this is like the junior.
Well, yeah, Uncle Randy's doing deck techs, man.
I think I saw Marshall in the feature match area as well, but
was he was actually spotting?
I don't know if he was spotting. He might have just been hanging out.
I mean, granted, maybe it's just like a totem pole kind of thing, right? Like, but. Then you're like, Lax not writing about like anything for Shadows, and like some of the things the pros were talking about were things like, boycotting Eldritch Moon, or like having
not going any more GPs,
having their own streaming sessions for other card games, like, and hey, crazy! There was a Change.org petition that was going around that had a lot of signatures.
It had I want to say like 2,500 in 24 hours or something.
I signed.
Yeah,
So
I signed it.
You want to know how this with how we know how tone deaf WotC actually was making this announcement? They so Hearthstone, one of their largest competitors, released a new set today. So you're going to make this huge announcement that is literally like had this huge negative reaction to a large base of prominent people in your community, while your biggest competitor is also releasing new cards that people are very excited about. Like, how wrong do you think you are? Like, you're literally driving people away from your game at the most easy time for them to leave.
I saw on Facebook here today too. You have Jeff Hoagland and Chris Van Meter teaming up to do Hex content. Like they're doing like video reviews and stuff. Like that should be terrifying for Wizards of the Coast. You know what I mean? Like instead of like banding all these people together, you're going to start breaking them into pieces. And it just, if that's what they want, if that's what they want, if they want to have a promotional tour and they want GPs to be conventions, that's fine. I've talked before about how GPs are conventions, but you can't pretend to have the other. You can't pretend and keep calling it the Pro Tour. Then you can't have this like weird illusion, because everyone sees through it. Every single consumer sees through it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating how many people said that Wizards survives despite this because they make one heck of a card game. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
as long as
rough.
you just make the best game in the world, you can just treat everyone like trash.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because I saw a tweet today where it's like there are people that are watching people open cards for Hearthstone, like just open packs for Hearthstone, and like one of the prominent streamers had 60,000 people watching him open cards, when like the upper echelon of Pro Tour viewers is like 30 to 40,000 people, and it's like, you have a problem on your hands, and you're not making it any better. So, I guess we should transition to what we're trying to put this money towards. Unless you had another.
Well, so we should talk about the retraction a little bit more. So Wizards came out today, retracted this, said they're going to honor the benefits for the next year, and then
Correct.
after Eldritch Moon, they want to discuss with the pro community, and I do wonder what that'll look like because it's really vague, right? But they do want to sort of supposedly extend that bridge, to talk about what this should mean. We'll see how the community takes it. Once again, you see the Magic community rally against something Wizards has done, and Wizards respond to it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Like, you saw kind of like everybody banded together. The hashtag Pay the Pros was I don't know if it was trending on Twitter, but I saw it everywhere because everybody in my Twitter feed is
Sure.
probably
Right.
related to Magic in some way. Yeah, it was just it was really an outpouring of support for the really. I mean, really, we're talking about 34 people, I think 34 Platinum Pros,
Right.
really, and you saw not only the pros, but you saw casual people, like you said, the people that were doing commentary for the Pro Tour. Everybody. It was almost 100%. Supporting the Platinum Pros and kind of what was happening there. So it was nice to see Wizards make a very quick retraction, I guess. But
Yeah, so we'll see. Now you're going to talk about the prize payout changes then.
Yeah.
I do want to point out though, as you start looking at this, these numbers Morgan's going to say here may sound big, but I heavily invite you to go and research the prize pools for the largest League of Legends tournaments.
Oh, don't do that. It'll make you real sad for being a Magic player.
The
and
largest
not a
Dota tournaments.
Not a League of Legends player. Tell you that much.
I just want people to understand that like these numbers that are supposed to be flashy for Wizards
Yeah.
are not.
No. Those games have $1 million tournaments.
Multi-million-dollar
Correct.
tournaments. And also, as John Finkel noted, these numbers haven't gone up the way they're supposed to across a number of years.
No.
So they're also not impressive. In addition to this, by the math of John Finkel, who I trust,
He's a hedge fund manager. I think he's good with numbers.
the cut they were going to make to Platinum and the Hall of Fame did not equal the amount of money they poured back into tournaments. Go figure.
Weird.
So all prefaced with this. So when you think these numbers sound huge, recognize they're not, and Wizards is bad at all of this.
So basically, they were going to be changing the payout to the World Championship. And they're going to be pouring more money into that. And they still do plan on doing this within their displayed time frame. I'm going to pull it up here real quick, just so I have it. Basically, it'll be a total prize pool of $250,000 to be dispersed, and then I believe this is for this year's World Championship.
yes, so the winner gets 70,000.
Yes,
for Worlds this year. Second place gets 40. Third and fourth gets 20. Fifth through eighth gets 10. And then 5,000 for the next level, 2,500 for the next level.
right. And then the year after, it's going to be increasing to a total prize payout of $500,000, with the winner getting $100,000.
Right, so that'd be for the 2017 World Championship.
Correct. So that's where they are diverting their funds to from the Platinum Pros, which, I mean, we're not seeing any price increases for the actual Pro Tour payout. We're seeing a prize payout increase for a 24-man tournament.
Yeah. Well, I think it's 32 now, right? Didn't they added more slots?
It's still 24, I think.
24?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean they haven't talked about how people will qualify for the 2017 one yet. I think they're gonna announce that at Pro Tour Eldritch Moon. So they very may well
Increase it.
They may increase it, though. In the announcement, it does show the prize structure as 24th being like the bottom. So I doubt they'll increase it.
Right.
But
so cool. You've increased the prize payout for this very exclusive tournament, which is obviously something to shoot for. Everyone wants to be the world champion, but you're not giving me an incentive to actually try to work towards that. You're literally slashing what I could be making. And you're not making it easier for me to try to qualify for this. And maybe that's the point. But it just felt like, cool, thanks for raising the prize payout. That's already very exclusive tournament that you're not making it any easier to try to qualify for.
yeah, and the awkward thing is, too, so if you just look at it like, okay, so they're cutting Platinum appearance fees and they're kind of putting that money into the World Championship. Well, okay, sure, like a lot of the Platinums are playing in that tournament anyway, but not all of them are.
No,
like,
not at
what
all.
if you're like one of, maybe you hit Platinum, but you finished maybe just outside of the bubble of qualifying for Worlds? Well, it's like, well, I guess there's no payoff for you.
Right.
Yay, I hope you did well
Yeah.
one of the Pro Tours.
Yeah, good job wasting your time, basically.
Yeah. So, and I don't really, I think if you ask like any of these guys that play in Worlds, I think they would prefer how it is now. I think they would prefer to have that steadier income, or like it kind of offsets maybe some of the variance from playing in the Pro Tours. Like you're not gonna do well at every Pro Tour. It's just, I mean, unless you're Steve Rubin, I guess, because he just always cashes them. But I mean, like being able to like show up and know like, okay, at minimum I'm getting $3,000. That could be that's comforting, at least, you know. But to be like, okay, I'm going all in and hopefully I qualify for Worlds.
Right.
And then even then, like if you finished in that, you know, the bottom tier, you're getting like $2,500 once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't. I get it, like the optics of it like looks better, like wow, the winner gets $100,000, but I think if you ask, you know, the pro community, they would prefer not to have it that way.
Right. They would prefer to make a steady stream of income, you know, throughout the year instead of banking on a huge tournament at the, you know, end of the year that may or may not go well for them.
So now again, one of the things that even Randall, the guy who went to the Pro Tour, would said this could be another example, as he said, of like Wizards putting the quote unquote cart before the horse. Whereas we get this announcement, just like we got like the modern Pro Tour announcement, but then afterwards they're like, this is what standard's going to change to. So if like a couple months, like, okay, here are these funding deals that we have through these sponsors that we are now going to help the players get. We just couldn't tell you about them then. You know what I mean? I could totally see Wizards doing something like that and just like not having any idea how to actually announce these things. The other issue is that this also could be a result of the thing we mentioned earlier.
Correct, with the judges.
Where the judges are suing Wizards for not being classified as employees, and Wizards literally has language on their websites that says this appearance fee is supposed to help pro players offset like essentially their cost of living. It's like, so you're paying cost of living to them? That feels like a wage. And so like maybe they're like, you know what?
Yeah, like,
and Sperling talked about that a fair amount.
And really, I hope that's what it is, and I hope it was like a knee-jerk reaction, like, hey, we got to get this out really quick, and like maybe that would make some sense for the timing, of it, I guess. But I mean, I think that a lot of damage was done. Even though they retracted it, I think it's going to be hard for people to kind of trust that Wizards is going to do the right thing in the future, and it's going to take a while. You know, it's going to take time for that to them for them to regain the trust.
Yeah, because for the people that are like, I'm never going to be a Platinum Pro. I'm not a Platinum Pro. Like, how does this affect me? Like, who cares? It matters to you specifically because Platinum Pros are people who are most invested in the game of Magic. And if Wizards will turn coat on them, what makes you think that you are any more important? So that is why this is important. Like, and that is like the most damaging thing to me as a Magic player is that this announcement felt so jarring and out of touch that I could see a lot of people not wanting to get into this game or wanting to get out of this game. Because of that. Because why would you want to put your money to someone who doesn't care?
I recognize that this is a company that has used like legal teams to better defend a list of cards they won't reprint, to protect because they're afraid of that. But then we'll turn around and like just delete language from their website that was guaranteed before. Just like, yeah, that's cool. Like, wait, so you're protecting the reserve list over like paying the people that are playing your game now? Good job, guys. I'm really proud of you.
Paying the people that like have, maybe change their lives or like have done things so that they could pursue this goal.
Yeah.
And then just saying, just kidding, whatever we are 75% way through the season. It's not like this happened, before and people could decide.
Right. No.
Hey, do I really want to go for this knowing what the end result is? Or I guess knowing what the payout is going to be. So at least with this retraction, so they're going to get same benefits next year. So
Correct.
The people that are, platinum or almost, clinching platinum at this point can rest easy knowing that they're going to get their $3,000 appearance fee for the Pro Tour. We don't know what's going to happen after that. I think they said they're going to make an announcement. Was it the next Pro Tour?
So after Eldritch Moon is when they want to meet with pros to discuss.
Okay.
So we'll see.
But at least we know that much, and then people can make a more informed decision as to whether they want to do that or not.
They get a choice,
right? Which is, I think, morally the correct. It's the right thing to do. It's just, didn't feel right the way that they broke this news.
No, not at all. And I am glad that they have since gone back and obviously changed their stance on it. And hopefully we can attack it again and get a better resolution and one that doesn't feel so disingenuous to everyone involved.
I would also point out those of you who have been championing things on Twitter. I would say go a little easy on Helene. She is always the figurehead for these things, but doubtful that she is the one who's like, it'd be really cool. Let's just like take all this money away from pros. Like, so like she has to like put her face on the article that's released. She has to put her face on all these other things, but recognize that like these come from above.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's one more update for organized play, and it involves our PTQs. They aren't going away. Sorry, that's not what we're announcing. But for RPTQs feeding into Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, which takes place May 22nd through May 28th, May 28th through June 5th. All RPTQs offer 1st through 8th an automatic. Hold on.
They get automatic invites to the next RPTQ.
Correct.
So like, if you lose, like if it's a top 4 invite. So before, if you lost in the top 8, you would get the invite to the next one. But now, if you win, Mike, you would be qualified for the next one.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Now, it's awkward because I think it's just this round.
It is just this round.
It's just this one. It's not. This isn't like forever, which is weird, but okay.
And then for RPTQs feeding Pro Tour Honolulu 2016. Which take place August 20th through the 28th, and beyond. They will award invitations for top 4, regardless of size. Is that correct?
Yes. So no more of this trying to hit the number, which makes sense. There was like one each. There was one in Italy.
I think it was only one.
And it sort of like hopefully reduces some of the people, like the swell we had in Indy at the GP last year, people hoping to hit that number and then we fall just short, but now we have to play this horrible slog. Like,
yeah,
right. And they're adding an additional RPTQ in Europe,
in Italy,
specifically.
Actually Italy, yeah. Like you guys earned it.
There's already so many of you trying to do this, so those are the RPTQ changes. Nothing earth shattering. Sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
All right. Well, those are all the organized play announcements. It was definitely a turbulent weekend for everyone involved. And it made you feel like certain ways about playing Magic. So, but on Monday we had a great thing happen. We had a documentary come out that was done by the Walking the Plains gentlemen's Nate.
Gentleman is MEN still. Gentlemen. Okay. Plurality still works the same way.
We talked about that for a very long time, and I'm a little tired now after that. A little exhausted. Anyway, Nate Holt and Sean Kornhauser released the Enter the Battlefield documentary. It was streaming on Twitch on Monday starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And then today it was actually released on Netflix and other streaming places. So we've all watched it for the most part. I think Mike got like a call. Did you watch all of it? Okay. So what do we think of it?
Well, first off, I felt bad for these guys for having this come out right after this horrible announcement.
Some of the things that were discussed in it about like making a living off of the Pro Tour.
Yeah, or like you can live the pro life. It's like, oh, it was like
real
the
sad.
worst possible timing.
Like family worrying about like the stability of the income, and it's just like, oh well, you were right to worry. That's interesting. No, I really enjoyed the whole documentary though. I wish it was longer.
Yeah,
short.
Yeah, but I mean, realize that it was basically like one guy doing all the editing
I know. It took them a couple
all the
years
cinematography
to do it.
And all that. Yeah.
It went up to Worlds 2014, 2015.
It was 2014.
14, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The World Championship, I should say. But no, I really, really liked it. Like they did a good job of identifying like some major storylines. and like made me feel like like I knew what was going to happen to these people. I still felt really bad for Chris Bakula watching that. I still felt, like it's like, oh man, like,
And how lucky did they get with like following around Shahar Shenhar? Where they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and then just like that's his back-to-back year, and it's just like, oh, cool. This we kind of just fell into this. This is awesome.
Yeah, Patrick Chapin,
Yeah,
winning the Pro Tour and qualifying.
right.
Yeah, I remember. We were all watching that Worlds, and I really wanted Chapin to win because he wanted it so badly. It's like it kind of like brought back the feeling of like I was disappointed for him.
Yeah.
So when I was watching this, I was like, oh yeah, that happened.
because his Pro Tour was a World Championship qualifier.
Yeah, yeah, and he's saying like the only thing he's ever wanted to do is win the World Championship. So yeah, hopefully someday for him. But yeah, it was pretty cool, and like I definitely found myself like just kind of nodding my head a lot. I know Reed Duke said something like, because he was talking about how he finished second to when Shahar won his first World Championship.
Yeah, I remember
Reed
like
was-
when they showed that match, and I was like, oh yeah, that was when Reed Duke was playing
Yeah.
Boggles, and Shahar Shenhar was like drawing hot fire.
He was up 2-0 in the best of 5.
Yeah,
But yeah, like Reed Duke talking about how winning and having a great finish, they're just completely different feelings, and I can definitely identify with that. I've top 8 a lot of tournaments, and sometimes a win, more often than not you don't. I think that's true for most people, and it's just I don't know. For me personally, it's like it's almost like it's a disappointment, even if I finished second or something. Like I've had a bunch of second places like the past year. It's just like you just think about like what you could have, if you could have changed anything. But like he said that, and I was just like, yeah, he's in my brain right now. That's exactly what I'm thinking. But
Get out of my head.
yeah. But no, it was great, and I think I was actually watching it with my wife before I came over, and she doesn't really know much about the whole pro scene, so I was just like, yeah, you should watch this, and like you can kind of get an idea of like what I do. Not that I'm on the Pro Tour a lot now, but I think a lot of it kind of ports over to just competitive Magic.
Grinder mentality shows through there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I think the somebody who doesn't know anything about Magic can watch this and get a good idea of what it's all about.
Plus, you get the sweet, dulcet tones of Will Wheaton.
yeah, it's true. I think it's I think it achieved its goal. I think it's compelling. I think that you can beat anyone and watch it and get something out of it. So I think that is a lot of the points you want out of a documentary. So I encourage you, all of our listeners, to go out and watch it if you haven't already, and watch it with your family, with your friends, with people who want to know more about where you go on weekends, and they'll definitely learn something. And it's very true. It's not. It doesn't feel like fake or phony or try to.
No, it's very earnest.
Yeah, it really feels like they're trying to put a face and like a heart to the game that a lot of external media doesn't try to do with Magic. So it's great to have this positive influence out there for people to watch, and I hope a lot of people do. Because I know a lot of people just grind those Netflix documentaries all the time. So definitely, watch this one.
Yeah, it's I believe it's available on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So if you don't have Netflix, check it out on YouTube.
All right. And then next up, Star City Games was at PAX East, and they did some announcements as far as what's going on with Season 3 of the SCG Tour. And so they've announced a few dates and a few places they're going to be visiting. I know that Indy and Columbus are both on there, which is great. And one of them is modern, too. I think it's Columbus.
Columbus is modern.
Yeah, it's great. So starting August 20th is going to be Season 3. So 21st is going to be New Jersey, and that's also going to be the Invitational, I believe. And then September 3rd and 4th was Richmond. And then we go to Orlando on September 17th and 18th. Indianapolis, October 1st and 2nd. October 22nd, 23rd is Milwaukee. November 5th and 6th is Baltimore. November 12th and 13th is Columbus. November 19th and 20th is Knoxville. And then lastly, December 2nd through the 4th is Atlanta, which is another invitational. So, pretty good list of events. We'll at least hit a couple, which is always awesome.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to know that they have more modern format opens than standard. So they have 4 modern, 3 standard, and 1 legacy, which is going to be in Baltimore.
Yeah,
So-
and it really shows the popularity of the modern format as a whole. For sure, I think that they've clearly seen that modern people show up to modern tournaments. I mean, we can even see it in states that we had over the weekend. We had between 50 and 60 people show up for some standard states, and then 90 something people show up for modern. So it clearly is a format that drives people to go to these tournaments.
I think that's also interesting too. That so if Wizards has decided that and obviously this initial decision is made independently of Wizards, but you could see where Wizards was leaning. So if their Pro Series, Pro Tour is going to be all standard, then like why not make the SCG Tour become the modern tour? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of capital there. So I like all this because I just like playing modern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it too.
They also added a new member to the creature collection. It's going to be Snapcaster Mage. It's a crab. Looks like Snapcaster Mage. Makes sense.
Is that the little monocle thing? It's great.
It's genuinely very good. And then we also know what July, the F&M promo for July is going to be. It's going to be Spatial Contortion, which is the best start.
I just love how we like stuck this in here at the end, just like after all this stuff, like oh yeah, here's an F&M promo.
By the way, to end it on a
Sorry,
light
go ahead and
note.
talk about the art though, because
The art's unreal, so it's definitely a guy that's like, it looks like he's just been thrown down on the ground from somewhere high. So his face is down, you see his hand. Well, you see his legs like far off in the distance, and his torso has been contorted, spatially, if you will. And it's just like it looks terrible. It looks like an awful thing to ever happen to a human body. But it's very funny. It's very comedic, and I think it's point across. And I think it's nice because like he's still alive. Like he's not dead, so like there's potentiality that he might die after that, or maybe it just made him a little bit more powerful. Who knows? At the cost of his back,
Sure.
Anyway, it's good art. And it's solid promo.
So, real quick before we move on, so the SCG Tour got its first sponsor. So we talked about sponsorship. And so they got Ultimate Guard is now sponsoring the SCG Tour. So you may see some advertisements. I don't know what all that entails, but
Right.
I think this is the first step, and hopefully if that goes well, they can continue to garner more sponsorship, and kind of expand the tour. Maybe offer more prize money. Who knows? It gives them more options.
You have an Ultimate Guard box. Do you like that box?
Yeah,
It's the one with the dice tray.
It's pretty nice.
Cool.
So
Hey, Ultimate Guard. Yeah, looking for a podcast to sponsor. Just kidding. Anyway, moving on to the competitive segment, we first want to talk about the Pro Tour.
Oh yeah, there was a tournament there.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, right? Like, weird. Anyway, the whole thing was won by Steve Rubin playing green-white tokens. And it was his first ever top 8, which is fairly impressive to take it down when you first top 8. And he definitely had a lot of stiff competition going into the actual tournament. We have John Finkel, Luis Scott Vargas, Brad Nelson, Shotzi Yasaoka, Seth Manfield, Andre Mengucci, and Luis Salvato. So those are all names.
Salvato is the closest to an unknown, right?
The closest, but he had an accolade. He won.
He won the Sunday Super Series.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like.
But I think as far as the PT, I think that's the name on this list. I think that's and maybe Steve. Like we know Steve like his name and who he is just because like we know him through a lot of people, and we know him from this grinding the tour in this the SCG tour in this area. So maybe Steve Rubin was more of an unknown.
I mean,
at
even
large.
Seth Manfield, he won.
He won
He's
world champion.
Yeah, he's a world champion. So it's like, how can he even be unknown? You can't be the world champion and no
that's
one
what
know
I'm
you.
saying, like, this is
Well, Steve Rubin's platinum.
yeah, like,
He was platinum before this.
I know, but like I think because we even said this, I think you even said this podcast like, did you guys know Steve Rubin was platinum?
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't know that last year.
The silent platinum.
Yeah.
But like no, I think like somebody were talking about like how you compare this overall, and people were saying that this does not compare to what Amsterdam 2012, which is I guess considered the best top 8.
So yeah, that was one of the pro tours I was able to attend, and I think it was 2010 is when it was.
Okay.
I mean, it was one of the best. I don't know if it was the best, but like that was the top 8 that had like Kai. That was Paul Rietzel won the tournament, so it was Paul Rietzel, Kai Bud, Brian Kibler,
Kai Bud.
Kai Bude, yeah, whatever.
2010.
Yeah, Kibler was in there. Michael Jacob was in there. Brad Nelson was in that one too.
So yeah, first seed Brad Nelson, second seed Paul Rietzel, third seed Michael Jacob, fourth seed Margin
Marin Leber.
Ryan LeBert, sorry. Fifth seed Guillermo Wafatapa.
Oh yeah, him.
Sixth seed Brian Kibler. Seventh seed Thomas Ma. And eighth seed Kai Bude.
Yeah. That one was pretty good. And then I know they were referencing some of the old Pro Tour Chicago's. There was one that had Finkel and Kai were both in it. Those ones were kind of like more of the old school guys. And they even talked about this on the coverage a little bit. Like this one, it's already great. And like depending on like, if Seth Manfield continues, his kind of streak, and if Steve Rubin goes on to be a great player over a number of years, and maybe he gets into the Hall of Fame someday, it's like we could look back and be like, man, this was just the best top 8 of all time.
Right.
So maybe not today. It's not the best of all time, but it could end up getting there.
Mm-hmm. There's room to grow, basically.
Yeah, there's still room to grow.
I mean, the decks were all different in the top 8 as well, which is like the biggest news, I think, probably from the actual top 8. We see like a hugely diverse set of cards being played. I mean, the closest you can get to having a similar deck is Yasuoka's deck and Manfield's deck because they're both Esper. But Yasuoka played Esper Dragons while Manfield was playing a straight control list with no focus on the actual dragons. I mean, and then you have some breakout decks like John Fiegel's Season Pass Control, which is just a green-black grind deck. And then you have, green-white tokens, like we already talked about, which we had seen a variation of by, Chris Anderson on the Open Series, as well as show up in the Invitational. And then you had the, what seemingly is the perfected green-black sacrifice deck, which we had seen very, very early on, using a lot of cheap creatures and Cryptolith Right to try to power out a quick Westfall Abbey, or early lists were playing Ulamog to this list that's really positioning Nantuko Husk and Westfall Abbey as being the primary kill conditions, along with Zulaport Cutthroat. So, and then we still have the menace going into the Pro Tour. We have Andrea Mengucci playing Bant Company, so we still see that even with that deck being a known quantity, still being able to be powerful enough to rise, cut through the tournament and still top 8 in some degree. Now we also have to talk about Brad Nelson's deck, because this deck is sweet. It's Goggles Ramp, so it's green red ramp that is using sort of the same engine that the blue red Goggles lists have been using. The Pyromancer's Goggles, along with the powerful card draw spells, the Magmatic Insight, and the Tormenting Voice, which you can double up on, as well as Drawnhir Temple, to really have this engine in here to ramp up and then kill your opponent with your threats, your Chandras, your World Breakers, your Atarkas, or kill them by just fireballing them the heck out of the game with Fall of the Titans.
Fall of the Titans, yeah. I thought this was the deck of the tournament. I know Brad was one of the undefeateds. I believe him and Louis Scott Vargas were both 8-0 after day one. And at a certain point in the tournament, I believe it was all the way up to like round 14. So Finkel, LSV, and Brad Nelson were like the 1, 2, 3 seeds, and they had only lost to each other. So Brad had lost to Finkel twice. He lost to him in like draft, and then in constructed, and then Finkel had only lost to LSV, and then, but yeah, it was pretty impressive. I thought this was the deck of the tournament prior to the top 8, just because 4 Kozilek's return main seemed to line up well against a lot of the creature decks, and especially ways to flash it back with the World Breakers.
Yeah. Get the more powerful side. Now, we would be remiss to not talk about the Esper lists, of course. I think Seth Manfield's list is a little bit more unique, a little bit something that we haven't necessarily seen before. It's, Planeswalker control, basically. When you look at it, he's playing 8 total Planeswalkers. We have Jason Raveler, Secrets, Narset Transcendent, Obnixilis, and Sorin being played all main deck. And only one creature, Sphinx of the Final Word. You only need one. It's the final one, right? What it says goes. And just a bunch of, obviously, instants and sorceries to kind of round out the deck. Now, I kind of thought this was a little bit of an interesting thing to come out of the tournament. A lot of people are saying that control has kind of been lackluster the past few, standard goes, if you will. And to see, two controlling list top 8, it's really impressive.
Well, I mean, this is kind of when you would expect control to kind of be resurgent. Yeah, because the first couple of weeks are always going to be kind of a feeling out period of like, you're not really sure what's going to show up. And like, I think everybody going into this tournament expected humans of some variant, whether it be mono white or blue white and Bant Company. So now you know what to target. Now you know what people, what are going to be likely the most played decks going in. So I think it's easier to put together a control deck to try to fight that. Mm-hmm. And we see, Seth Manfield's playing 4 Languish in his main deck. Yeah. Obviously, as a way to fight those creature decks.
Right. And then when we take a look at Miyasoko's deck, he is playing Dragonlord Ojutais, Dragonlord Slumgars, and Jason Vryn's Prodigy. And then playing all the Dragon Matters cards in Slumgar Scorn and Foul Tongue Invocation.
Yep. This isn't too much different from what we've seen in the past.
No,
I mean, it's pretty standard. I mean, Yasuoka is just a master with control,
right?
And he's really fun to watch if you like those kind of decks.
He plays so fast.
Yeah, his pace is always great.
Right, and he's kind of showing that he deserves that Hall of Fame. Yeah, people were kind of questioning. It was like, well, he doesn't have the top 8s. It's like, well, now I'm in the Hall of Fame, so the top 8s are coming. But yeah, he was fun to watch. I was sad to see him go down in the top 8, but
it definitely bolsters his ballot options when the time comes again for voting. So maybe
he's already in.
Yeah, he's in.
So, oh, sorry.
Yeah,
that's what he was.
So I'm saying he's showing him now. He's just like, see, I deserve to be in here. I'll just get the top 8s after.
Never mind. Nix that. Congratulations.
Flip it, reverse it.
Yeah. You showed him that it was the right choice.
Can you talk about Finkel's deck a little bit?
Yeah,
more?
Of course.
So,
this deck
Seasons Past control.
This deck's crazy. Obviously, Seasons Past, a very powerful magic card. Allows you to regrow a lot of things potentially from your graveyard. But I think like the actual like powerful card in this list is Dark Petition, right? Like that's just the sweetest card. Like Seasons Past is a namesake, but how do you get Seasons Past? Well, you deal with the devil a little bit.
Yeah. So we saw this happen on camera quite a bit, where like we were getting to and this deck also plays Nissa's Renewal. So a lot of times it can Dark Petition for like a Nissa's Renewal. You get a lot of lands out. There were a lot of games where they showed Finkel and he actually just got all the basics out of his deck because he just kept looping it. And then eventually you can loop Dark Petition, searching for Seasons Past, then use the Season Past to get back Dark Petition among, maybe 3 or 4 other cards in your graveyard. Play them all, rinse, repeat, and it's just eventually it's just going to get there.
Right.
It doesn't play that many actual win conditions.
Right.
I mean, just kind of.
It's important to note that obviously Seasons Pass has that special clause that it goes on the bottom of your deck.
Oh, I thought you meant Santa Claus.
No, sorry, not that kind of clause.
Not the Santa Claus.
Not the Santa Claus.
He has to be
there's not a special clause that's written around the edge of the Magic card.
You do, yeah. Wait, that's the actual plot of one of those movies, right?
Yes, correct. That's the plot of the original.
You didn't read the fine print.
No, but like I thought one of them was. Oh no, there's the Mrs. Claus. One of them is literally the Mrs. Claus. That's what it is because he can't be Santa Claus anymore if he doesn't get a Mrs. Claus.
Oh,
and there's a clause about that in the contract.
I see.
Man, they're real clever.
Yeah. The elves' business acumen is on point. They have very good lawyers. Not all of them make toys up there. Some of them are drafting contracts.
They have tiny hands. That's why they can use all the fine print.
It's very good. It's very good. They're very well suited for that. One of the most prestigious law colleges is up there in the North Pole.
North Pole.
This is a little known
Kringle,
fact.
Kringle. Sorry, I'm really sorry what I've done to this.
Oh, there's so many there's so many good jokes that'll come up from that. So I can't think of them now. Anyway, this deck is sweet. It definitely was obviously fun to watch. We got to watch one of the best players in Magic play it, which definitely is a sight to see, and it's something new and interesting, and looked very, very powerful when we were watching it. I'm interested to see if it does continue to be able to put up results. So we'll kind of go from there. But I hope it does. I hope it still continues to see play.
Yeah, I think this kind of looks like the stereotypical Pro Tour deck, where it catches a lot of people off guard at the Pro Tour, but I think it's something that could be hated out pretty easily, once people know about it.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like that. I haven't actually played with or against it, so I could be wrong. But it just seems like it's one of those.
I was reading some Reddit threads on what are some good sideboard cards for the mirror match, and I was like, someone was like, I've been playing Hedonist Trove. I thought that was sweet.
I don't know. Was that
it exiles an opponent's graveyard, and then you can cast one of the cards in exile per turn.
Yeah.
Hashtag Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I thought that was cute. That was a cute sideboard card against the mirror. But I mean, people will play this deck, and I would expect people to have it for your game days are going to be happening over the weekend. For any sort of PPTQs you might be attending over the weekend, so be prepared for it.
Yeah, I think it was. It's funny in the Enter the Battlefield documentary they talk about even the best players maybe only have a handful of Pro Tour top 8s in their career. It's like, well, if you're John Finkel, you just have 16.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
So Mishra's Photoshop, which if you're not following Mishra's Photoshop on Twitter and you're a Magic fan, you're doing it wrong.
You're doing yourself a disservice.
Definitely put together a compilation video of all of his top 8s.
Yeah.
Man, watching that guy throughout time.
How he's changed and evolved.
Oh, yeah. I like blonde-haired Finkel the best.
Frosted tip Finkel.
The real slim Finkel. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Finkel. I shouldn't.
He doesn't listen to us.
It doesn't matter.
Who are we kidding?
I feel like his lawyers have already heard. We haven't even released it yet, and they're already on me.
Yeah, the letter's already in the mail.
I was gonna be walking out to my car tomorrow morning. There's be a guy in a suit. It's like, but it's 5 a.m. Yeah, I mean, we need to talk.
You and I need to have a discussion. So another deck that again seemed really powerful while watching was the LSV deck, and I mean that was a deck that just killed people out of nowhere some of the time. Had some very exciting ups and downs, which was very, very interesting to see and watch. And again, is a deck that people are going to pick up and want to play because it just looks fun.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most exciting deck. I don't know if it's the best deck to come out of the Pro Tour, but it's the one that does the coolest things, and it almost feels like a combo deck in some ways. We saw LSV routinely do 14 damage by transforming a Westphal Abbey with a Zulaport Cutthroat in play and just like hitting them, just killing them out of nowhere.
Yeah, he had like on camera, he had like turn 4 and 5 kills,
Yeah.
which is like for this standard format, which has like been shown to be sort of like the Bant Company deck is like the definition of mid rangey. You know what I mean? And like the control decks here in the top 8. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's pretty gross for sure.
And it's a deck that is relatively cheap to build if you have collected companies already.
Yeah,
Right.
Which if you do, but yeah, there really aren't that many high value cards. There's Liliana, there's a couple Lilianas and a couple Westphal Abbeys. I guess Kalidas is kind of up there now on the board, but
Yeah, Cletus is expensive.
but overall, I mean, it's not too bad.
Favorite card than 75? Right there on the sideboard. Ulvenwald Mysteries. Oh man.
Oh, so I saw a Twitter conversation. They said that the card was just doesn't actually do anything.
No, it's probably just terrible.
It's just like does nothing.
Yeah, it could.
3 mana
It did what the
doesn't do
goggles were
anything.
supposed to do.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, I wonder if that is supposed to just be like evolutionarily, but
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like it would do something.
I would recommend that people try Evolutionary Leap over that one.
So, what do you guys think about the green-white tokens list, which is what people are definitely had the best win percentage when you break down the numbers. Definitely won the tournament, which is another huge plus for it. And this is something that, again, like the green-black sacrifice deck, had a form of it existed before the Pro Tour, and then some pros got in and made a few changes to it, and then made it better.
I don't know. So it's really kind of keeping it simple. It's not trying to do anything too crazy here. So you get 4 Gideons, 4 Nissa, Voice of Zendikar.
Those are pretty good with tokens.
Yeah. 4 Archangel Avacens, which actually would seem
Pretty good.
It would seem not great with tokens.
Pretty good magic card.
It's a pretty good magic card in general. But one thing that we saw continuously come up with Steve when he was on camera is the ability to be able to transform your Archangel Avacen as like an offensive weapon. Or like
That's the idea, anyways.
That was the intent. Whether it happened all the time or not is, a little bit off. But.
okay, well, all right, we'll put it this way.
I'm just making some jokes at the expense of the Pro Tour winner. He messed up that line a couple of times.
Right. But something like Bant Company would play Avacen just because it's a great card. But it doesn't. I guess you could try to set up a fight with Dramoka's Command to try to transform your Avacen, but it's a little harder to make work. This deck plays Hangerback Walker, which if you have an Avacen in play, you can play your Hangerback on 0, and then it just dies immediately, and then you get to transform your Avacen the next turn. So if you're playing against something like Humans, or even like some board states against Bant Company, you can set up that play where you're using Avacen not just as a an efficient attacker and blocker, but you're able to actually sweep their board in the process and being able to control that, which some of these other decks that we've seen haven't been able to do. Sylvan Advocate, 4 of those, still continues to be a great card in the format. 2/3s just line up pretty well against all the various 2/1s
Right.
and stuff that people are playing. And Thraben Inspector just has kind of, this deck only has a few 1-drops. It has Thraben Inspector and Oath of Nissa, so it's kind of fills in the curve a little bit.
And you also have the same reason why Thraben Inspector is very good in the Humans deck, is that once you have an Anthem effect, whether it be Gideon or Nissa putting counters on it, a 2/3 body is very substantial on the format. So it's very easy to turn something that is kind of mediocre at a 1/2 that makes a clue to something that is very, very good.
Yeah, Mike Sears wrote about this deck today, and it's what he said. Like that card is so important because you can command on turn 2, and it just kills Jaces, Duskwatch Recruiters, whatever else. So that's why that card's just so good. Like who would have known? Little Thraben Inspector looking at his little tentacle, or actually her. Actually, that's female. I forgot. So she's doing Avacen's work.
Yeah.
Well, was it?
Hopefully not. It used to be.
I think the one thing that's most impressive about this deck is that out of any of the decks in the top 8, this deck can just shift on a dime what it's doing and present really, really different strategies to, if you look at some of the decks, especially the control decks in this top 8, they're very linear. You know what I mean? Like the Seasons Past deck is doing a lot of dirty things, but it wants to cast Languish on turn 4 and then play its removal spells. You know what Languish isn't that great against? Planeswalkers that make guys when you get to untap. You know what I mean? Like that it doesn't help very much there. It's like if your curve against the deck that wants to cast Grasp of Darkness and Languish is Nissa, Gideon, end of your turn, flash in Avacyn, right? If you cast Languish on your turn 4, you didn't accomplish anything. You actually did nothing. And if you look at these control decks in the top 8, with Seth Manfield and John Finkel's, like this deck was set up well against them. But wait, you say there's other decks in the top 8, like Bant Company had to play in the finals. Great. Then he just plays creatures and Avacyns and Anthem effects in his Planeswalkers. Oh, and X-Spell token makers, and he just floods the board against them because they aren't casting Languish. So I think it's really interesting to see how this deck can just sort of turn on a dime and just sort of do a lot of different things. I think it's its versatility. Is really, I think, what helped it. You mentioned the win percentage already, but like against the format at large, that versatility has to be what allowed it. There's not a lot of decks in the format right now that can both go low to the ground and over the top.
Right, and I think the sideboard just bolsters that as well. I mean, if you want to go control, you can side in the 3 Tragic Arrogance, which is more than I think a lot of decks were playing like 2, maybe 1. This is going full 3. Playing Declaration in Stone, and if you need some removal, it feels like it's very, in the post board games, it feels like you can kind of customize it to. I mean, obviously that's what you're trying to use with your sideboard, but it seems like it can push harder, like in the control direction, or if it wants to get more aggressive, you can kind of go that way as well.
For sure.
So, I think. I don't think it's a fluke that this deck did so well and that it won the Pro Tour. So
yeah,
I think you'll continue to see this a lot. Going forward.
Very, very much so. I wouldn't even be surprised to see people try to potentially add another color to it. It might be a little bit difficult. It might be the sacrifice of like the efficiency of the deck, but people will probably try.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I don't know that you need to, but yeah, I mean, people try it.
People don't frequently need to do anything, but they still do. So,
well, we don't have fetch lands anymore, so it might be a little bit more difficult to pull off.
Sure, yeah. And then you have, how many other decks in this, top 8, being 3 colors though. You have Bant and 2 Esper, which is pretty good. But yeah. I would like this deck. This is the deck that I probably want to pick up and start jamming some games on. And luckily I have all my Gideons and all my Nissas. I picked up those before they especially the Nissas. Like you could have got Nissas super cheap before Shadows came out, and if you didn't, that was not a card to sleep on. And it was a 3-mana Planeswalker. It was going to see play at some point in time.
Yeah, I played Nissa in the red-green.
Yeah, and that deck was
red-green deck near the end of the last format, and I was like, this card's really powerful.
This card's really good when you have a lot of tokens out.
I thought I'd get 4 of these when they were, $7-8. So.
Right. But yeah, I definitely think this is probably one of the best decks to come out of the Pro Tour.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the last deck is Luis Salvato's red-white.
Yeah, the red-white goggles. I guess I kind of skipped over that, but this is sort of the as much of an evolution as you could possibly expect from maybe mono red Eldrazi from the previous format, and that deck still exists, but this one again, we see anything that has goggles on it, you need to expect the engine that goggles goes with the magnetic insights, the torrenting voices. That's how they draw a lot of cards, and then the Drownyard Temples, which are great to discard as it turns out. So we do see Nahiri actually show up in the top 8 through this deck, being a very good card draw engine, so as well as enabling. They don't have any. They don't have any. Whatchamacallit? Oh no, I guess they do.
Smasher?
No. I was thinking of madness, but they do. They have fiery tempers.
Yeah. Yeah, so the removable suite is 2 Fall of Titans, 3 Fiery Impulse, 3 Fiery Temper, and 3 Lightning Axe.
Right. And even Avacyn's Judgment in the sideboard for another madness card.
Right. And the 1 mana removals are especially potent with the goggles, since you can play the goggles and immediately, cast a Fiery Impulse to kill 2 creatures or something.
Or a Lightning Axe, which right. I'm sure he did that, and it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Good thing to do.
Yeah. I do think, if we're going to talk about, innovation or ways that the decks can evolve, I think you're going to see, kind of before the Pro Tour, we only saw the goggles played in the blue-red deck. And now, we see it in the ramp deck, we see it in this deck. It's like, well, what else can we jam this in? Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see, Grixis goggles or something.
Yeah, what other, colors can we smash this together with?
Yeah, Jund goggles.
Yeah, maybe.
Everybody can wear goggles.
Yeah, they fit on your head. It's great.
I want to go. You mentioned something with the token. I know we moved on from that. You said about wanting to play that deck. Mm-hmm. The rights deck is what I want to play. We missed something in the community section. You can play all of these decks.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The Pro Tour Gauntlet is up, so they did this again, like they did.
It's up tomorrow.
It'll be up tomorrow.
Oh well,
Wednesday.
When this comes out.
When this comes out, yeah.
I think this is what the last top 8 we had 900 Eldrazi decks or whatever. But this top 8, this is the perfect format for that, right? Like all these 8 decks we're talking about really sweet, plus a couple others. I'm sure they're gonna cherry pick the humans deck and a couple.
Yeah,
others.
we didn't even have any humans decks in the top 8 here.
So if you want to try these decks out, go do that because it's gonna be sweet.
Very true.
Sorry, I know it's really random, but you said that. I was like, oh man, I forgot. We didn't even talk about this.
Yeah, you can, which is far more exciting for a standard Pro Tour than it was for the modern one, in my opinion. There are a lot of sweet modern decks that are cool, but all of the standard decks seem like a lot of fun to play. So maybe I'll jump in on that. Maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see. So, Mike, what do you think about the red white goggles list, the Eldrazi list?
It was certainly spicy. I don't know. There were some instances where I thought it was getting a little too cute, and definitely if you saw Salvato's match against John Finkel, where he because of the way the deck was lined up against another control style deck, he still had fiery tempers in post board because he didn't have anything else to do. And that sounds really cool with goggles. It sounds really cute with Nahiri, but I do wonder if some of the spells just weren't powerful enough. A lot of the deck was doing I really liked, and it got to play Thought Not Seer, which is a card I already said I thought was going to be well positioned for this. It turned out to be not that well positioned, but he got it there. So I like the deck a lot. It was, I don't know, very unique for a strategy, but definitely there are times where even the power of the goggles doesn't make your base spell that much better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like again, when you're just looking oh man, you still have this in your deck, huh? You know what I mean? So there's that, but it seemed very interesting.
Awesome. So, out of the rest of the better performing decks in the Pro Tour, are there any other lists that we want to bring up and talk about?
I mean, there were a lot of humans variants that did well. Didn't quite top 8, but
right. And since it's a mixed format tournament, you can have very high and well performing standard decks that are accompanied with poor draft records that don't make it the top 8. So that's why it's important to take a look at the top performing standard decks by themselves.
Yeah, I will say it's interesting that Craig Wesco did a deck tech, and of course he's playing White Weenie, right? Mono white version, and his team was playing Anafenza Kintree Spirit, which is a 2-mana 2/2, not a human. Actually, but he said that they just kind of wanted another anthem effect, and it kind of acted as a pseudo anthem. So
right, they weren't impressed with Consul's Lieutenant, which is what it's over.
Right, and I think I can get behind that change. I think I don't know if I'd play 3 just because the fact that it's legendary might come up sometime, but apparently it worked well for him. I know Pat Cox finished with an 8-2 record with the deck, so or 8-1-1.
So there was one 9-1 finish in standard. It was Li Shitan, playing Band Company. So if you want another look at a Band Company list that could possibly be something you want to sleeve up for this weekend, definitely take a look at his list. It is something to definitely factor in. That he went 9-1 with it. It's very good. And he's the only person that went 9-1 with their standard deck. So good on him.
Him and Mengucci were on the same team, so
Probably at the
I
same
think they're
list.
playing. It looks like it might be a couple cards off, but
Right.
for the most part, it's the same.
Exactly.
There's a sweet Sultai mid range.
Yeah,
So
I heard people
Gregor-
talking about that.
Gregor Kowalski is playing. Sultai mid range. Looks like it's green black deck splashing. Where's the blue?
Dragon Lord Slumgar, I'm fairly certain should be in here.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
It's a good card.
So it's kind of just a rock deck splashing Slumgar. I don't know. That's pretty sweet, I guess. I mean, this will probably be in the Gauntlet just because it's different. I would expect like the Gauntlet will probably have the top 8 decks and then like a blue-white human variant, a mono-white human variant, probably this deck.
Yeah, I would assume this deck makes it in here. It's pretty spicy. It's playing some interesting cards that didn't get a lot of love.
It's playing a card that you mentioned earlier before the cast, Guildleaf
yeah.
Liege.
Guildleaf Winnower.
Winnower, excuse me.
Yeah, Guildleaf
Not
Winnower.
Liege. A little-
I mentioned it before because so again I talked about I think the Cryptolith Right deck is a deck I want to try out, and you wanted more answers to Kalidas, and I thought Guildleaf Winnower was an interesting answer to Kalidas, because obviously Kalidas is a 2/4, so its power and toughness aren't equal. But
3/4.
3/4, forgot. Sorry, whatever. But power and toughness isn't equal.
Correct.
It's very difficult to make its power and toughness equal. So Winnower is a cool way to kill it that you can find off Dusclops Recruiter.
Yeah.
So just something that was interesting, but yeah, it seems interesting here. Like I'm trying to think other big targets in standard. Just looking at this deck, like it kills Sylvan Advocate, Tireless Tracker, Den Protector,
Dragon Lord Slumgar.
and Ojutai. Actually,
Not kind of. Yeah, no, it does.
if it's tapped,
If it's tapped.
I was trying to think like Jamocha as well. Like I was trying to think if there's a Dragon Lord doesn't kill Culligan. Sorry, Culligan, you're still not seeing you play though. So
No, Culligan's a 6/5, right?
those are 6/6. Is it 6/5?
6/5.
Does Guildleaf Winnower kill all the Dragon
Yeah.
Lords?
Get them
And-
all out of here.
It's a good.
It doesn't kill a Tarka. Tarka's an 8/8.
Tarka is an 8/8. Yeah, Tarka don't care.
Guildleaf Winnower with his little bow. Tarka's like, come on, man. Like,
Really? You dead. I
You
deal
did.
5 damage to you.
but yeah, there's a lot of spicy targets for it right now in standard. So I mean, it even kills like Reflector Mage. So it seems like a sweet one of, and like it is also a 4/3 menace creature.
Yeah.
So like kind of hard to block, kind of big.
Let's talk about spicy one-ofs. The sideboard. One Caustic Caterpillar.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I enjoyed the one Conclave Naturalists.
Yeah. That's.
yeah.
I guess he couldn't decide on which one he wanted. Do he want the little one or the big one?
You want the Stomp Howler and the... I don't know what the Caterpillar is.
Well, I think it's important to note that if you pay attention to this, the way this is sort of put together, it's actually almost a Delirium deck. It's a toolbox deck for Traverse the Ulenwald.
Oh.
Like, there's 3 copies to Traverse here. Like, so that makes the Dragon Lord Silumgar and the Guildleaf Winnower and these one-ofs in the sideboard make a lot more sense. So sometimes like, you probably are boarding them both in for the same decks, like the Goggles decks, whatever else. But sometimes you have 5 mana up, so you can go, or was it 4 mana? Because so yeah, sometimes you have 4 mana up, so you can go, Traverse Caterpillar, sack it. Sometimes you have 6 mana up, and you can go Traverse Conclave Naturalist, get it. So I think it's kind of spicy.
I think we forgot to mention that that was one of the key things in Brett Nelson's deck as well, was Traverse the Ulenwald.
Oh yeah.
He used that to good effect of being able to fix your lands in the early game, being able to search up something like an Atarka or a World Breaker in the late game, and also being able to being a 1 mana spell for your Surge. So when you cast Fall of the Titans, you can just do that for maximum.
Yeah, I think it's important that he was playing that over the traditional Oath of Nissa.
Yeah.
So obviously you would if you looked at the the tokens deck, that deck wants Oath because it wants to be able to cast Nissa and Gideon with all its colorless lands.
I really enjoyed Ruben tapping 3 white mana to cast Nissa. There's some sadistic joy that I got from it.
The way he was tapping, I think he also is getting joy out of it
He's
too.
like,
trying to find the
yes.
most obtuse patterns for tapping just to make it happen.
I should be able to do this.
But I think it's important to note that if you wanted to go with a theme for these decks, tutors were really, really important this weekend. Dark Petition,
interesting.
We saw the Dark Petition. Well, I'm
Weird.
just saying that's mature in a standard format in a long time. we had a Court of Calling didn't even see very much play. But like, I mean, Collected Company obviously isn't a traditional tutor, but the idea that you're just like trying to find things out of your library. But then you actually have actual Dark Petition. We talked about it in Finkel's deck, but it was also in like Manfield's deck, and I think did Shoda have one on his board as well? I have to go back and look. But like,
there was also definitely another list. It was there was an Esper enchantments list, or the Esper Dark
the
Demonic Pact
Yeah.
list that played Dark Position. Makes sense. Very flavorful.
So, and like Traverse also being used. I want you also to pay attention. We talked to the sideboard of this Kowalski deck. He has Dark Petition Seasons Past in the board too. So he came up with this interaction as well. He did it.
He didn't go hard on it though.
No,
he didn't go all the way.
So I think it's kind of interesting that so many people came to those conclusions in the format. Dark Petition, a card that's done nothing in Standard for its entire life, and then it's like, you know what? Like it's like the coach pacing up and down the bench, like, who put in? Who put in? All right, Dark Petition, you're in.
Get that helmet on.
Dark Position's like, I'm gonna go to Legacy. I don't know. We don't have that much power here. Oh, give me a shot, coach.
I'm better now. I used a Dark Ritual.
Can I just say, like, I'm really looking forward to Mike Flores comparing Finkel's deck to Napster, because it's playing 4 tutors in it and like a bunch of targets. And if you don't know what Napster is, go back. I don't even know when it was, 1999 or 2000, when Finkel won Worlds or something with Mike Flores' deck, and he never stops talking about it. So
Yeah, it was a download service that people could was it share music?
no, the mono black control deck.
According to the Italian job, I believe Seth Green made it.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Futurama had a version that was like for like celebrities. It was called Kidnapster. It's pretty cool. They just like kidnapped them. Yeah, I get it.
Oh, okay. That's not really what I was talking
See,
about.
if I was on a podcast with Mike Flores, that is what I would do every time I made a reference to something. I would just shut him down with a really terrible reference or pun. Like,
I'm just saying it's going to happen. So
Chapin, this is what you got to work on. Then
yeah,
shut him down.
it's going to happen. Just so you know.
No, I'm sure you're right. But it was cool. So yeah, a lot of sweet decks. A lot of cards seeing play. I'm gonna say one more thing about the Kowalski deck. I'd have to do the counting here, but that's 61 cards in the main.
Oh yeah, he is playing
yeah.
61 cards main. Yeah, he yeah.
Man, Kowalski, you went ham sandwich. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Yeah.
That's a good deck. So, any other decks you want to talk about in humans? Oh, shout out to Josh McClain, by the way, who just like crushed Standard as well. He keeps saying in his posts and in person that one of these days he'll figure out drafting. And I believe him. But
It's overrated.
I do want to say that, so, again, Andrew, another member of our small little team, did play against Josh on day one, and took him to 3 games. Josh just got at the end, but did talk about how he had no idea how to board against their deck, and a couple of people mentioned who he played against that they had a deck like this in their testing. A couple of people said that they didn't get anywhere close to it, and we confused him. So at least we cast confusion. Like Blue Eyed Eldrazi cast Confuse Ray.
I'm glad it was super effective.
Wasn't that super effective? Still crushed.
It still didn't work. I mean, that's typically what happens anyway, right?
But Josh is one. So if you pay attention to Josh's list, we'll just stop here for a quick second for his version of Green White Tokens. Seagrass said that in his article, which is on Star City on the premium side, that some of them enjoyed Lambert Pacifist so much they played it in the main. So here's another version of the deck that went really well, that it does to have 2 copies of Lambert Pacifist sitting here in the main. So that sort of anti-Bant tech. One of the guys I was drafting with on Sunday told me that he made a lot of money this weekend, and I was like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" And he said, "As me and my friends were putting our decks together, they said they had an Asian player come up to them and ask if they had Lambert pacifists." And they said it was hard to communicate with them because there was difficulty. And he said that well, we might have some. How many do you need? And they were able to communicate. They needed 9. And they said, okay, well, what do you want? And the guy said, we give you €100 for 9. And this guy was local enough that he could, he was a local enough player that he could drive to his home. And he said, give me an hour. So he's like, yeah, I made €100 for 9 Lambo pacifists. So
That's insane.
another breakout card in the tournament. But like he was just saying that he's like, yeah, he's like, so like, what do you want for them? And he's like, because I could go get them. And he's like 100, like 100 euros, like 100 euros, like. Yeah, hold on. Like I can
we can make that work.
I can make this happen.
Yeah, that's a pretty insane story.
Yeah, I like that one.
You guys want to take a look at the day 2 breakdown?
Choo, 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 choo.
A lot of band company.
A lot of band company. 0.8% of day 2 was band company. Mono White Humans comes in second at 12.7% of the day 2 metagame, and then Red Green Ramp, which they don't really no, they do split it apart. Red Green Ramp was a little bit higher than Red Green Goggles, but they're both about 5%. And we have Blue White Humans being at 5%, and then everything kind of trails off from there to like the 3% range. Esper Control, Green White Tokens, Marduk Control.
I think
Blue White Eldrazi, 2 decks in day 2, 50% conversion rate. I'm just saying, we converted close to Band Company.
Yeah, congratulations.
Indeed. I think that the key number to look at is the conversion percentage. So basically like the percentage of the day 2. So Mono White Humans actually did pretty good. Put 70% of the players into day 2.
Yeah.
Where if you contrast that to Bant Company, which only put 56% in, I mean, Bant definitely had a big target on its head, and that's what I was saying last week, where I didn't expect it to do well. Now, obviously, there were still some players that did pretty well with it. We talked about Lee Shitian and obviously Andrea Mangucci making it to the finals with the deck, but overall, really didn't perform that well at all. Mm-hmm. The black green sacrifice deck, but it had a 92% conversion. So I don't know who that one person was that that didn't day 2, but that sucks. And the goggle ramp deck had 80%. Green White Tokens was 90%. So
yeah, those are pretty good decks for the tournament. Turns out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much else to say on that.
No, there's not really that much to say about it, but important to take a look and see like what converted, what did well, and yeah, it's there. So if you want to check it out on your own, definitely encourage you to do so. It'll help make your decision on what to play, this coming weekend. Anything else about the Pro Tour that we want to talk about?
Nope. Congrats to Steve Rubin,
Yeah.
And again, sorry that your win got overshadowed by all this other junk that was happening within the pro community.
Yeah.
Felt bad for him, and I felt bad for the Walk on the Plains guys with their documentary coming out the day after. It was just really bad timing for all those involved.
Yeah, but there is a lot of like good that came out of the weekend. So now that we have this update from Wizards, I do encourage people to refocus on that and definitely give accolades where they are deserved. Moving on, we do have some accolades that we want to give to Dave. He top 4 states.
Yeah, modern states.
I
didn't play standard. I had a prior engagement, so was able to play modern on Sunday. And
what did you play?
Come on.
You just can't break away.
Me and Delver, we had a really nice outing.
Yeah. She different now?
Yeah.
Yeah, she changed?
She changed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Mostly into insectile aberration, but
good.
No.
I'm gonna give you that one. That was good.
That was good. That was solid. I cannot.
I'm getting better, guys.
I cannot deny that was a pretty good joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, you had adjusted your deck as you told us beforehand. I know for a fact that you definitely had a blue-white Tron in your possession and decided to push it away.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have all the cards for Tron. I actually didn't have a Sword of the Meek, and they didn't have any there. So even if I wanted to play it, I wouldn't have been able to. But I don't know. I goldfished with the deck a couple times, and like the hands like had Iona and Emrakul in them, and I was just like, I don't want to play this deck. I'll play the one with all one and 2 mana cards in it. So yeah, I just played regular Blue Red Delver made some adjustments from when I played the Invitational. Played Young Pyromancers instead of Storm Chaser Mages, and played. Went with a board plan. Instead of playing Ancestral Visions in the sideboard, I played a Ghost Quarter, a Pian Karen Nalar, and a Keranos in the board to kind of fight the grindy decks.
Mm-hmm.
So that with the Young Pyromancers kind of gave me more game against the mid-range decks. So went 6-1 in the Swiss. My only loss was to a Zoo deck with Mutagenic Growth, which were really good against me. Just saving his Wild Nakados from bolts and such. And then I ended up losing to Grixis Control in the top 4. Definitely thought it was just like a standard Grixis list, and then I Gitaxian probed him probably on like turn 5 of the game, and he just had like 2 Cruel Ultimatums in his hand. I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. And he never cast them, but it didn't matter. He beat me anyway. He drew many Snapcaster Mages, which are pretty good. Snapcaster Bolt, or Snapcaster Burn Spell in general is pretty good against my deck, and he drew more of them than I did. So.
Did he end up winning states?
So he got to the finals, and he actually got paired up against a friend in the finals, and they kind of had like a weird like, oh, I'll scoop to you. No, man, I'll scoop to you. And so it was kind of, they didn't really play. It was like,
gotcha.
It was like a concession. But I think they wanted it to show Cruel Control being first place. I think was the deciding factor.
I mean, why not?
But yeah. I mean, I was shocked to see it. But
I wanted to see the look in your face when you're like, those are cruel.
I mean, when we started the match, he was just like, "Thank you for taking out that burn player," because I beat a burn deck in the top 8, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." And I thought he was playing burn, but I didn't really know. And then so he was playing. I was like, "Yeah, you probably would have done bad against burn." But
yeah, there were 2 burn decks in the top 8 for sure. So kind of makes me wish I would have went, but.
Yeah, I didn't see all the lists. I know one of the guys that was playing next to me was playing like some weird, I think he was playing the Krark-Clan Ironworks, like sword deck. All I heard was I heard him like going off while I was playing my match. I was like, oh, what's going on over there? But yeah, it was a good day. I mean, I had a lot of fun playing. Played against a Dredge deck in the Swiss, which I was a little shocked to see. He was playing Prized Amalgam, which is kind of sweet. With,
nice.
What's the 2-1 that comes back with landfall?
Bloodghast.
Yeah. So he had that and Gravecrawler and things like that. So to trigger their Prized Amalgam. So it's kind of sweet. Match was a lot of fun, really close, and definitely had to play super tight to try to pull out that match.
I bet.
But yeah, it was a good day overall. I was disappointed that I didn't win, but yeah, had a lot of fun.
Good. I'm sorry you didn't win either. It's unfortunate, but it's always regionals when they roll around. It's going to be the next thing.
Yeah, the last state I played in, I finished second, and this one I finished third, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're going backwards, but
hey,
we'll try to run it back next time.
Sometimes you got to make some forward progress. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty much it for our competitive segment. But we do have some last minute, housekeeping here for the wrap up. So we have GP Toronto over the weekend, and it's going to be standard. And Star City Games Tour Milwaukee, and the Open is going to be modern. And then over the weekend, Comic-Con has some awesome events that are going to be happening. So there is the game day that's happening both Saturday and Sunday. And I believe that's a $5 or $10 entry fee.
It's $10.
$10.
It'll be a common theme.
Yes. So if you want to get a sweet playmat, some awesome. I really want an Anguished Unmaking Top 8 promo. I need that for BattleBox very, very badly. And then there's also going to be a PBTQ on Sunday for Pro Tour Honolulu. And it's got a $500 payout for top 8, which is pretty sweet, and it's only $10 to enter. So that's crazy. You should just go and enter it and play, and it'll be great. It'll be a good time. Play all the sweet decks that came out of the Pro Tour.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that what they call value?
That is, in fact, what they call value, sir. And as a Magic player, we never turn down value. as
true.
Mike's story definitely taught us. You never turn down value.
No, you will drive back to your home to pick up 9 Landfall pacifists for all the value.
So that's going to be it for the show. If you want, you can definitely follow us on Twitter. We are at @YourEndstep. You can also find us on Facebook. You can just do a quick search for @YourEndstep. And while you're on Facebook, look at Comic Con Gaming Center as well. They are a lovely sponsor for the show. Also, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to write us an email. You can reach us at @YourEndstep@gmail.com. We also would like if you left us a review on iTunes. We really do appreciate when you do that, and definitely definitely helps us out on our end to gain more popularity and traction within the community. So if you have some feedback for us, just write us a quick review on iTunes, and we will definitely appreciate it. But I do believe that is going to be everything for this week. We thank you so much, and have a great one. Bye.